Interesting. Tell me something about building a good team,
Yeah.
because you said that. So I'll tell you, a problem with me is that, like, I'm sure a lot of people know that I wanted to be an architect since I was in my fifth grade, right? So today, with every new project, okay, it's like a boy in a candy store. Okay, I love doing it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
like you do it too. Like
Yeah.
when, like I remember, like that sparkle in your eye when I spoke to you about the Chicago
Oh yeah,
project,
yeah, yeah. I was so happy for you
and
actually.
and when we spoke about like, let's do like
Yeah.
a lighting installation and all.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I still have that thing that, oh, like I have to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that is why perhaps maybe I feel like my professional growth is somewhere stagnant, or is slow. Not stagnant, of course, because we're growing, but is stagnant, where somebody else is like growing faster just because they've learned the art of delegating, and which I feel like you've mastered it when you say that your team is handling everything right now. So being a designer, okay, and that itch to be to be the person who designs everything that goes out of your studio, and also having like a and comparing to having a team who is running the show successfully without say your intervention, where you can go and say get more clients, or like take the company to the next level and all of that. So when you shift the roles, tell me what is how one to build a team, and what happens when this designer in you wants to do everything, and yeah, so these two things.
Sure. So I mean, like I always believe there's one line like passion is everything.
Right.
So you're passionate about building your practice in a certain way.
Mm.
The first step would be find people who mirror your passion. That's very important. Or find people who you can inculcate that mirror of the passion that you want to
Right.
inculcate, or inspire them to find your same drive.
Right.
And it's also okay to sort of have people who come from different backgrounds, people with different ideas and different beliefs. And I think that's something which actually really helped my studio a lot. As we transitioned from architecture to lighting design, the studio comprised mainly of architects to initially start off, who were dabbling in lighting, doing, and a lot of our earlier work were very architecture inspired as well. And over time, we started hiring full-time product designers, set designers, interior designers.
Oh.
We, in fact, at our glass studio have a healer who's come from a very different background and sort of approaching glass design in a very unique way.
Wow.
So it's very important to learn along the process with your team, and the whole word studio is what people sort of casually use it, but a studio is not an inculcation of one person's thought, but as a team. The one person is like a guide, right? When we do our architecture college, we used to have our classes in architecture design and interior design. You had one guide and you had 5 people under him who were working on projects under the
Right.
person's guidance.
Right.
So there's always that touch of that guide into your project,
Right.
and you've got your own sort of 5 points of new design that you've experimented with. So it's a two-way process. So be open to have a two-way studio process, and that'll also excite designers because they are creating something with you versus just executing something with you. Like, how will you inspire a designer if you don't allow him to make mistakes? I've made every mistake in stupid ways. My whole process has been to try and make sure nobody else does it in the studio, and I try and go to great lengths to try and do that, to the point where we're launching an app for our internal studio of how to manage things.
No way.
So
This
like
is so
I've tried
cool.
everything from Excel sheets to everything. I said, okay, let's try an
Wow.
app. We'll get so good at sort of doing our things.
Wow.
So we have more time to design, That's the whole
So
idea.
interesting.
So everybody sort of, to retain good talent or to find good talent, try and find people who mirror your passion. Try and get people who are open to learning, open to growing, and I think I've been very blessed to have a team and attracted that type of team who's got that same mindset.
Interesting. Okay, so how supportive were your parents when you started pursuing your dreams?
I think they've been the greatest support, and also many times people don't realize that you're doing something because of certain situations in your life, and maybe your parents pushed you and sort of like just sort of tried to go and be free. Nobody put any pressure on me, you know. That
Right.
was the whole thing. It's very typical when you graduate school to get the pressure from family that, oh, you should do this, you should do this.
Yeah.
You know, I went and I got a entrance exam, this thing of an architecture school, you know. My parents would always sort of think of maybe medical or engineering or maybe a commerce,
Sure.
you know, because you're not very sure. They weren't very sure that I'll pass 12th also because I spent my 2 years of junior college playing Counter-Strike and not going to college. But after passing college, you know, I find this MHCET for architecture that just launched in that time. And my parents were very supportive of me exploring architecture, and to get it on merit was also fantastic. Like entrance exam mein, you know, I got some acceptable rank or maybe two. Like it was the first, like I joke with my friends now that year, it was the first year when all the entrance exams for architecture started, like how the common entrance were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I applied in 2004, so probably nobody knew of it. So that's how my rank was so high and I got into college. You know?
So, okay. So which college was this?
I went into Kamla Raheja
nice.
College for Architecture.
Right.
Very good school. Just helped me open up my mind, you know. And now I can think of the first day, you know, when you have this orientation and everybody is there, you know. I've gone with my waist long hair, topi to college, wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt. And the first thing one of my professors said was that 70% of people who graduate from this college will not become architects. And like, you know, you always sort of have this ego, oh, no, I want to do buildings. And that's when sort of the school also helped me realize that there are different ways to practice architecture. It's not only a very myopic way of seeing that you have to build to be an architect. There are practices which explore writing, research, theory, which is a great practice model. You can explore materials, you can explore sciences as an architect. There are so many jobs in the policy making sector as an architect where you can contribute in a big way.
Wow.
You know, if architects were helping with economic policies, it would be such a different situation, a different lens to look at things, you know,
I agree.
at the national level. So it's just sort of the school makes a big important role of how you develop as an individual. And I think that's something very important for young sort of students who want to get into design, to really choose their college really well. Go to a college for either a course that it's taught really well there or for certain faculties who teach there, you know. So research, even though you're going into a new field altogether, no harm going on the internet and spending a few hours reading, you know.
If you remember any one quote from any of your mentors that has stuck to you.
There was a really fun quote from this mentor in Switzerland, and it made a lot of sense. And he said that, like, you know, I was the only veg kid in Switzerland with the whole exchange group who had gone. So like, you know, they used to organize these massive lunches for the whole exchange group, and there used to be all these meats and all these breads and cheeses and maybe 20 things, but there was only bread and cheese is what I was eating, you know, for like the first 2 weeks. And this one professor comes to me and says that, Arjun, if you don't eat, you won't have the strength to become famous. So it's just that sort of keep your strength, keep eating, just enjoy life. And yeah.
Sure. So this exchange program was during masters?
No, it was right after my architecture bachelor's. I'd actually gone for a summer school to Bern, to the like University of Bern, and the college had selected about 10 students to sort of go for the course. And it was a great experience, you know.
Oh, wow.
So even if you go for masters or you go for any course, the same take is that either go for a course for the faculty in that college, or go to a place that you really want to go to, you know. So for me, it was going to Switzerland. So like, and the course was also really exciting on sustainable architecture. So the people you got to meet, the exchange, but it was all about the travel for me. I was also able to like get a job right after my course. And I applied to 600 firms in Europe, just to let you all know. It's not easy in 2009 to apply for jobs, you know.
Wow.
So I wrote to at least 600 people with individual emails to all of them after seeing every website over a course of a month.
Wow.
I got 32 job offers from 600, of which 2 were paying a very good salary. And the first interview I went for, who gave me an offer, I took it.
Wow.
You know, and that's how my job came about. And you know, it's very important to learn that wherever you work in your first initial days, or wherever you study, you'll always learn something new because it's something that you've never been exposed to. So just go with an open mind to not only learn from your course, but from your colleagues, from the environment that you've exposed yourself to, the travel situations you're pushing yourself to, the self-study that you're doing. All of it is just a constant process.
So, yeah, the really cool questions that I have. But one question, one of them is
Yeah.
that how do you find your first client? Okay, now in terms of architecture,
Yeah.
okay, but we know the up and down story in that field. But when you started up with product designing, and we know that okay, Ashish gave you like a free hand and he started off, but post that, I'm sure, like, I mean, it's an easy answer to say that your work was recognized and then people just started, like, all the honeybees started to come towards the flower. You were one of those super bloomed flower, I guess, by then. But tell me something, like, if somebody is venturing out by themselves, okay,
Yeah.
and is a product designer perhaps, what would your advice be for them to find the first client?
I think like everyone's journey is very different based on what situation you're in. I'll talk about, for me, I had to create opportunities for myself at every stage of my life. Even now, sort of creating new platforms, creating a glass studio, creating a showcase platform is creating opportunities for myself as well, apart from the community around me, though. My first project, sort of like I said, like the first project came from a friend. You quit your corporate job based on that project, and then the project gets cancelled in a month to two, and you're like, shit, I don't have any work, right? So like making the lamp also, I didn't expect that a lamp would get printed or something. You're doing it because you're passionate about something.
Right.
So firstly, sort of keep showcasing your passion, whether it's your blog or it's your website. Just sort of keep it active. Show people that you're passionate about it, because you will attract a client or a business who will want to work with you at some point, who resonates with that same passion, you know. But most of my work sort of, I used to do installations from 2012 to 2014 in Kala Ghoda. You know, my first installation was an origami installation, which a paper company nicely sort of sponsored partially for me to get the paper, and I did this huge installation. I stood there for 14 days, and I got my first interior client to do a salon, you know, just sort of casually. And then from that one salon, it led to one office, and then that one office led to a house, and then suddenly my former boss calls up, Shantanu and Manisha, that, hey Arjun, there's a bungalow, would you like to do it? It's a small project. But like they've seen the installation you're doing, you've put yourself out there, you've put yourself in a position to be seen, you know. So that's how, like, one project tends to lead to the other. But the whole idea is try and contribute to different parts, you know, beyond architecture. Back then, I used to be an avid photographer. I was part of a lot of photography groups. I was part of a lot of workshop groups, social groups, which were outside my field, a lot of networking organizations. So it's so important to put yourself out there to get visible and be visible. I mean, like early in the practice, you know, 2012, 2013, I had a lot of friends of mine who used to find clients in gyms. And they used to like talk about that, you know, hey, I found this client in the gym, we were chatting, and then this is what we do. So, so it's not that, like, you know, like, if you follow a certain lifestyle, you will attract that clientele, I feel, you know. So like and that's when you'll really enjoy it, because the guy who you might find in your gym shares the same passion of working out, and probably 5 other passions. That's why you're friends.
Right.
And you'll enjoy working with such people.
I agree.
So the whole idea is put yourself into positions to succeed, put yourself out there, take initiatives. Initiatives won't always come to you. There are a lot of projects I was trying to pitch to the MMRDA for 2 years of my life I wasted trying to pitch public projects of how I can make the city better. But I mean, it just got me exposed to a few people who actually, you won't believe, 8 years later, one of the people at MMRDA was working on a private sector, and he recognized me from that project and gave me an opportunity to work on something. So the relationships, what you build at your early stages of your life, even with your job, like my first major job here as a corporate job was with India Bulls, right? We had a great design team of maybe 30 to 40 people. But the people, when we all branched out into our individual things and they became heads at different other companies, that's my network. So you start, I tell this to all the young designers in the studio also, your branding as a designer starts today. It doesn't start after you start your own thing.
Wow.
Your co-workers will remember how you have worked with them, or how you delivered for them, how you backed them up, and then there'll be long-lasting relationships. I mean, to share another quick example on the same front, there was a project I did for Tata Housing in 2015. And it was a very typical bid process where, like, you as an architect, you go with a turnkey contractor and you bid for the project as a product that, so this entire clubhouse will cost you X amount. There is no design fee. There's all, so you are exploring various models in your early practice.
Right.
I walk into the meeting, turns out the head of Tata Interiors was a colleague of mine from India Bulls. The pitch took literally 5 minutes because he knew my work ethic so well from back in the day.
Right.
He didn't have a shred of a doubt to back me up and just sort of give the job to us.
Beautiful.
So your branding starts with your first job, not when you start, So like, people will remember you, and how you present yourself and you move ahead in your career, your ex-employers will remember you with that as well.
Right.